Is going to be running the community event this evening. He's asked for people to walk over the mic and just speak into the mic so everyone in the hall can hear you well. Welcome, and Jack, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you.
Jason put that together. Jason?
Good evening, everybody. This is a community meeting, and you are being asked to do something that no one has asked you to do in 20 years. Is this work? All right. Usually my voice carries to the 10th row without any microphone. Now, if I'm going to have you be empowered, as I plan to tonight, to help us make some decisions, I need you to be participants. You're not spectators, you're the main show. That means I would really, really, really like it if you would all slide not from over there down here. If we're going to talk together, and we're going to make some decisions, we're going to have comments, we're going to know what you think. Now, it's particularly important that the members of the public are the ones that are here. You see the boards over here. The board gets a second chance at deciding what they want to do in the way of principle. If you can slide over here. Could you do that now? Thank you. Really, guys, don't be shy. You can bring those signs right up front if you like. I have no problem with that. Yes. Okay. Why not? All right. So there are still a couple people over there, which I would really appreciate it if you would join us. This is your meeting. Don't make me beg. So let's start off with what we're doing here tonight. There are a couple of agendas, and I know that. But the first agenda is we have a situation where our principal has submitted a non-renewal notice to the board. What that means, without anything else, it means that from this point forward, there is a selection process starts. And that doesn't mean that your current principal can't be part of that process. It just means that the process is open to anyone who might want to apply who has the qualifications. Now, qualifications for principal are like out of football, right? You have to have masters, you have to have a principal's license. It's really, really nice if you've done this somewhere else or been an assistant somewhere else. But that doesn't mean that that person is right for your school. It doesn't mean that person meets the needs you define or what the school needs now. So what I'd like to do with your permission is to engage in what we call structured conversation. Structured conversation, everybody will have the chance to speak, but I want us to act like we're the boss. Like we're the ones making the decision about what we do for principals. This is like you were a board of directors, you're the CEO, this is how you would do this if you were picking the president of the company, the new technology person at Microsoft. This is how you do it. The reason I know that is I facilitated those meetings. So, what you do when you have these kind of meetings is you say, what is the place we're trying to put someone in charge? What is that place bring to the table? What does it need? Then, what's the position that we're trying to fill? What is it? What do they do? And what can that person do about the problem that we've identified? And what's most important to you, the community, in that process? And then, let's talk about what else. There's a lot of what else, and I see a whole lot of folks who are very hurt by what's happened here. If you want to talk about what else, you're going to get that chance. Okay? So that's we've got a limited amount of time to do it because there's another meeting coming right after this, but we're going to try our best. Is that acceptable to everybody? Phenomenal. So we're going to start with the first one. In my world, this is called a SWOT analysis or a gaps analysis. What is it that this place has? What is it this place lacks? What is it that this institution needs in order to be a better high school? Be the best high school in the state of Vermont. But let's aim high. Yes.
Just for a second, I guess I should have said yes, I was all set with that. What's your name? My name is Samantha Simons.
Hi, Samantha.
You've heard of my contract.
Yeah. And are you a parent? And what are you here?
I don't know.
There you go.
I'm a parent. I used to be on the Rockingham board, and taxpayer. We have a property here. We graduated from here ourselves, my husband and I. My daughter's a junior here in the high school. I appreciate everything you're talking about here, absolutely, but I feel like it is deterring from the purpose that a lot of us think we're here for.
All right.
I understand that this is trying to get to the point of what we need in a principal period, and I think maybe we have this discussion specifically about what Mr. Broadley can do to meet all of these things. Because I think that's what a lot of us are here to discuss is the possibility of the board asking him to, consider withdrawing his letter and offering him a contract. And I think us spending a lot of time on this is going to take away time from people that have comments about that, because we do have a limited time. So I just feel like this is distracting from what a lot of people are here for. If we're here for Broadly and supporting Broadly. And I understand, I'm not saying that there aren't changes that he should be making and we look at this sort of thing for what he can bring to the table. But I think that we all need to have the opportunity to speak about what we came to discuss. And then we find out if that's going to happen or not, then we have this discussion.
I can't, I absolutely agree with you. But at the same time, I want to make two things clear from my perspective. It's just my perspective, so I'm a civilian here. My goal was to address two things. One, we do want to have an open discussion about how people feel going further. But I also want to make certain that people know what it is a principal does. Because I'm not sure that that's necessarily clear to everybody. And I think it's hard to have a discussion about someone who's very popular in the community. I recommended John Broadley for the assistant principal when I was on this board and urged him to apply. So if we're going to put up hands, who likes John Broadley? I'm putting up mine, and I know a good portion of the board is going to do the same. That's not I want you to have your piece, but I also know that there's a process in place. She may be part of it, if she wants to, but it's important for you to be on record as to what a principal does and whether or not you feel that the needs are met. So what I'm going to ask you to do, because I do recognize people want to talk about this, and maybe 5 is not the time to do it. So why don't we make this arrangement? Why don't we, people want to speak on behalf of Mr. Bradley, maybe I'll join you. Let's try to keep it within about 90 seconds to a minute, minute and a half, something like that, because there's 50, 60 people in the audience and we'll never get to the thing that we wanted to do, which was to empower you in the process in a way that you
So is this going to be just like all of our other meetings? Is this going to be like our other meetings where we get to stand up here and talk for our 2 minutes and no responses and no answers to questions? Such as, why is this just talking about something that we really bored?
What I'm trying to avoid is exactly that. So but I'm also trying to make certain that when we get done talking about our feelings about Mr. Broadway, that whether the board decides to take that advice or decides to go down the path that you're feeling right now, that you have a path that gets you the person you want. Because one thing I did hear from people in the prior TV discussions was a fear that we would not be able to find anybody to fill that position adequately. Well,
I feel like that's a fear of the board, not necessarily the majority of the community, because I think the majority of the community feels that we already have our principal. Not to say he's perfect, and not to say there isn't work that needs to be done and to hold his feet to the fire for making some changes, but I think the majority of the community feels we already found this person. We're wasting a lot of time and energy into this, and maybe it should be a discussion on what needs to be improved versus who we're going to get. I'd be curious if who's already applied.
With all due respect, this is not a conversation between you and me. It's a conversation.
Well, I can't get a conversation with anybody.
We're having one right now.
Okay.
So let me just say again that I want people to have their keys, but we have a process that is started. No one, your current principal sent in, he didn't resign, he simply sent in a notice that he would not renew. He has not asked, to the best of my knowledge, to withdraw that, or so.
Is it within the power of the board to ask him to reconsider that, though? That's just a straightforward question.
It really shouldn't be,
But it is within the board's power.
Here's the management 101, and I'm going to just state it because it needs to be stated. In any functional corporation, any functional institution I've ever been associated with, and I've been associated with a lot, when somebody resigns, they don't resign. If they said whatever that process was, that's not normally a withdrawal thing.
So that's the norm, we have to just do that?
I think I'm talking about Dartmouth College where it actually happened, and the trustee said, sorry. So I know that that's happened elsewhere. I'm just letting you know that. Whether or not people decide to do that or not, I don't care. That's up to these folks, it's up to the community. So what I'd like to do, since this seems to be really important to you, and I don't want you to not have that opportunity, I'm going to have you all line up, and I'm going to ask you to speak, and ask you to try to keep it to about a minute and a half, simply because there's so many other people in the room.
Will we get responses?
You're not going to get a response from me because I'm not in charge. This is not, right now, this is a community forum.
No, it's a school board meeting. It was posted as a school board meeting, and I'd like it on record of the real reason this school board meeting got moved. The community forum was on Monday. Let me get to the point.
Oh, no, you're gonna sit down.
So the community forum meeting that was posted for Monday got publicly told that it was changed due to weather. However, it was due to lack of proper warning, which it happens.
Now, I'm the one that asked the superintendent to postpone the meeting because we had seen statements that the weather was going to be bad. I just will tell you that I clarified that with Susan Small here, that she was wrong. I'll tell you what it was. I'm the one that did it, so the board didn't do it, because of any other reason. And I called the superintendent and said, I'm concerned about weather.
So I'd like to have David Clark maybe speak to this topic as
David
well.
Clark's been told the same thing. I'm just telling you, I'm the one who made that call.
So it was a community meeting on Monday, now it's an actual special school board meeting, so to me that means there's involvement with the school board. Is it not posted that way, as a school board meeting? Did I not read that correctly? I think I checked it about an hour
All
ago.
I know is that I was asked to do this, and I'm trying.
And I appreciate that, because you're not on this
And
board.
please, I get it, but there are other people who maybe want to yell too, and I don't want them to miss an opportunity to do that.
I don't think I'm yelling.
No, but let's have other people, if you don't mind, other people.
But we want answers from the board.
Other people.
Of course.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Serena Hickey. I'm also a taxpayer and an employee here. You made a statement that people haven't rescinded their notice. Mr. Hodgson quit, and we convinced him to stay. We convinced the board to get out of his way and let him stay. We'd like to do that now too. We'd like Mr. Bradley to stay. We'd like the board to let him stay.
Go right ahead. Stand up. And just for the record, introduce yourself, please.
Marjorie Ladd, and I worked in this district in the elementary school for 30, 40 years. I have never seen a dysfunctional forum to begin with, the initial one, but I was at all the other meetings, and he stepped down because the board wasn't going to offer him a contract. That's the truth behind that part. And looking at what a principal can do, what our principal here does now, he's a good and decent man, he's a leader, he's a student advocate, he's an interventionist, he's a team builder, he's caring and always present. And he is being used out of this whole thing. And if we are looking for skills to better whatever the board thinks he needs to do work on, the man will do it. He has said he would love to stay. Thank you.
Hey, come on up and then get introduce yourself.
Hello. Sorry. I'm not going to take up a lot of your guys' time because I know this is time sensitive. I'm a student here. I'm a junior. My name is Morgan Romero. Mr. Broadley has done nothing but be amazing to our school. He's the reason why I got to have homecoming sophomore year. He's one of the only reasons why I stayed in a tech center where I didn't feel alone. But because of him, next year I will have my LNA and I will be able to go and do a job. Without him, I probably wouldn't have been able to. He wants to be with his students. He likes to let them know what's important. And he cares about us. He cares about us more than some parents do. And for the school board to make a decision and not listen to the students' voices is a little bit hurtful because we're the ones who go to school every single day. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Damaris. I'm a student here. I'm also a junior. You asked what are the strengths and weaknesses of BFUHS are. Bell's Palm High School. And one of the biggest weaknesses of this school is the lack of stability that we have. If a principal is not given the chance to fully make a change, this is a school of many students. You can't change a student's opinion in a matter of 5 minutes or 2 years. I've been here through 2 principals. I've seen what works, and you need to give them a chance to catch up, because that is what a principal has to do. That's what anybody has to do when they start a new job. You need the time to build a community, and he's built a community very quickly. And we've also begun to lose many teachers, but Mr. Broadley has also been here through all of that. He's been there for the students, and that's very obvious, because when do you see the students of this community come together like this except for a sport? They never come together like this, and this is something that they think is very important, and that is something that should be recognized and not just swept under the rug. We are the ones going to school here every day. We are the ones dealing with your decision.
Thank you. And members of the board want to speak, so I'd like to let everybody speak. Go ahead.
Jack told me I had to be quiet tonight, but y'all know better. My name is Molly Bannock. I've been your school board chair for a couple of years. And I just want to say this, but I think it's necessary, or I hope you appreciate hearing. I called Mr. Broadley about 3 weeks ago, and I've had a good relationship with John. Asked him if what I was hearing was true, that he really wanted to keep his job, that I invited him to come to the board and talk to us, see what we could do to correct whatever has happened. There's things that I'm not going to talk about here, but I invited him to come talk to us. And I don't want to talk bad about Mr. Broadley. I consider him a friend, but he hasn't come to talk to us. He hasn't my personal cell phone. He calls me when something's goofy at school that maybe he wants to bounce off me, but he hasn't said, can I have some time with the board? So I'm not disregarding anything you're saying. I appreciate that everybody's very passionate about this. I want everybody to have their time, but I just want you to know, as your school board chair, I did contact him, and I did ask him to come see us. And he has not done that.
Molly, didn't you speak to the superintendent last week?
So I do not know what conversation you had, that I don't manage that office, I don't know. But what you're hearing and what I'm hearing is that the board is the one that, I read the letter that was handed to me when I came to a meeting one night, and I haven't heard back from Mr. Broadley on coming and talking to us about what you guys are all asking us to do. He needs to come and talk to us, and he hasn't done that. So I'm going to leave the mic alone. You guys all need your time. This isn't my meeting, but I just wanted you to know that I initiated that, and you did not come forward.
Yes. Just again, your name.
Happy to give my name. I'm Katie Dearborn. My son Colby attends school today. I kind of want to address what Molly just said a little bit. It's pretty disheartening to think that Mr. Broadley doesn't feel that the board is approachable to be able to have whatever conversation it is. I'm hearing that he sent a letter of resignation because he was feeling some pressure that his contract was not going to be renewed. I feel like there's some type of, and I don't want to use this word because it concerns me, but it's almost bullying. Something happened with him and the board, the superintendent, that made him feel like his only out was probably writing this letter. I don't know from a professional standpoint, if you resign versus if your contract is not renewed, how other employers view you, but that could have come into play. What I will say is, when I think about a principal, I know that there's administrative duties, I know that there's professionalism that he has to display. I know that there's reporting he probably has to do, there's a slew of things. But one of the most important things that a principal has to do is have a relationship with students and the community. And in today's world, when you're looking to hire someone, you're not gonna bat 1,000. You're not gonna find somebody who's gonna hit all of those marks. And one of the things that I've thought a lot about is the management of those growth areas that he displays. How were those managed? I know Chris was around, I think, initially after he left, but what kind of support was John given with the consideration we were coming out of COVID? So I feel like there's a lot of factors that play in. I feel like there's some miscommunication between the board and Mr. Broadley, and I really encourage the board to try to clear whatever air there is. If he's not coming to you, Molly, there's something else going on. And I really feel like you owe that to him. He's been great to our school. He was great under the leadership with Chris. There's so many examples, everyone's here. Like, do the due diligence, go through the process and work through it, so that everyone doesn't have to spend their time fighting for someone that I truly believe you all think is a good person. And if you have to put some extra effort into managing those growth areas, put the time in. It's obviously warranted.
Do we have anyone else that would like to step up the microphone and ask for?
Hi, my name is Stephanie Mitchell. I had a daughter graduate from this high school. My husband and I both graduated from this high school. I'm a past employee of the WNESU. And I spoke before. I 100% do not believe that John Broadley wrote that letter willingly. I think he wasn't given a choice. I don't know if it was because of something the board said or did, or if it was because of something the superintendent said or did. But I know, because I have had contact with him as well, he does not want to leave this job. He's afraid, and maybe this is part of why he hasn't spoken to Molly, that if he fights it for himself, that he will not be able to have a career after this. He feels that this is his only choice, and it's being forced upon him. And it is completely inexcusable. Up there it says strengths and weaknesses of BFUHS. There's a weakness in the WNESU. So many employees have left this supervisory union. I'm one of them. And it's not because I wanted to. It's because I had no other choice. People are not treated well. I'm not gonna lie. I went from when we started in August until after Thanksgiving break with no lunch break. So that's a problem. That's not okay. So, and that is just something that me, a little lowly para, had to deal with. I can only imagine what the principal of the high school has to deal with. So, one of the weaknesses is not just BFUHS, it's WNESU. We need to fix it. And in order to fix it, we cannot let someone like John Broadley go. It's not fair to the kids. That's the most important thing. It's not fair to the teachers. I haven't heard one teacher say, oh, I'm glad he's gone. It's not fair to the community. It's a problem.
Thank you. Hold on just a second. One of the things we wanted to do is, as I said, my initial goal here was to have a conversation that led us to all understand what a principal does and what's needed here. I'm showing you that that's been pretty well flushed, but I think it's a missed opportunity, because I think you need to have it at some point. It wasn't my biggest concern personally speaking, when I agree to take this, is it would be a discussion, it would be another conversation, not of the community, but of employees and the board. Those conversations that many of you know have been fraught for kind of a while. Maybe we're just not going to have that. But if there are other people that want to speak, let's have that, and we'll figure out where we go after everyone has said.
Hi, thank you. I am not an employee.
Great.
I'm a parent of 3 students in high school, currently a freshman, a junior, and a senior.
Can you mention your name?
Yeah, my name is Jen Ward.
They want to take your photograph.
I know, it's so awkward now. I want to be clear, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. John Broadley did not resign. We know he didn't resign. That has legal implications. That did not happen here. We also know that John Broadley was told his contract wasn't going to be renewed. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And so when folks say duress, yes, you're less employable, certainly at 63 years old, when you lose a job versus voluntarily leaving a job. So unless you folks correct that, and you're welcome to, that's the reality for Mr. Broadley. I think, I respect everyone here. I respect the amount of time you put in. I couldn't do it. I respect you sitting there patiently when you're getting yelled at and people are pissed off at you. I respect that you can't answer all questions. I do have 2 questions. You're not going to answer them now. I know that. I hope you consider how important it is for this community to answer them soon. The first is, are you going to consider Mr. Broadley as a candidate for what currently is an open position? We're entitled to know that answer, I think. And the second is that, not the prior meeting, but the prior meeting, there was a suggestion that there was an open investigation. If that is not true, then I think Mr. Broadley and the community deserve to know that there was not, and never has been, an open investigation into his role as principal leading up to what's happening now.
I'm not a member of this board, but I am chair of the SU board, and I can only tell you that I have never heard of any investigation, and I was heard of one if there was one. So let's just put that on the record. And and when we have discussion with the superintendent as just general policies, as a matter of record, when a position is open, any qualified applicant can apply. And to the best of my knowledge, that would include Mr. Broadley, he is a qualified applicant, seems to be. So that's what I would say to you, that there is nothing, when somebody, just like the teacher, decided to not renew their contract, and then something better did a month later, but there's already been a search that's been set up, there's already been school spring's been notified. At that point, that person would be more than welcome to come. They'd be applying for their position along with everyone else.
Understood. But if Mr. Broadley indicates to the board that he would like his job back and his contract renewed in June, then it seems like we're jumping the gun, right? If the board is saying he made this decision and so we're moving on, then it seems to me if he says, here's why I made that decision, I felt forced into it, I want this job, the community supports me in this job, then why are we jumping to look for somebody else, unless you have another reason?
Well, I would say that there's already been a notification that, I mean, I'm just telling you what the process is. I'm not defending anything this board's done or not, okay? I'm just telling you what this process would be in any other district.
I think what we're saying ultimately is we're asking to skip that process is unnecessary. Once John reaches out to the board and communicates what he's communicated to all of us, which is he wants this job back and he wants his contract renewed in June. Thank you.
Pull that down a little bit.
Let's do this.
All right, there you go.
Hi, I'm Julie Torres. I teach Spanish here at the high school, and I've worked with John for 20 plus years, 23 years. And I am appalled about the whole situation. situation, but having said that, I'm not even gonna touch on that. What mostly concerns me, or I guess I'm just wondering, geez, is why is it that we are in such a hot pursuit of a principal here? Forget about what Mr. Bradley wants, if he wants to come back or not, stay, whatever. But there is a middle school, forgive me if anyone here is at the middle school, that's a train wreck, and they don't have any kind of leadership except for poor Henry, God bless him, and I've heard he's done an amazing job, but here we're like hell-bent to get a principal in here for next year. Well, we just need to take care of business this year at the middle school that's a train wreck.
I'm Susan Swan. I've been at the high school in Mass Department for 32 years. At a recent board meeting, Chris Austin mentioned that in his tenure, there had been times when he had indicated that he would not be seeking a continuation of his contract, but had subsequently been talked out of it. In director's comments in that same meeting, David Clark stated he was probably one of the people who had helped talk Chris out of that multiple times. I bet that involved more than just an email that said, please come talk to us. That would lead me to believe that because that has not happened with Mr. Broderick, that the board and or the superintendent can and have worked to keep an administrator who had stated that they did not intend to seek another contract. Yet, to date, neither the board nor the superintendent has asked, well, perhaps I'm incorrect in this statement, asked Mr. Broderick to rescind his letter, but have invited him to talk about it, but not necessarily asked him to rescind his letter. I'm not sure of the conversation that Molly had. However, that would lead me to believe that there are areas in Mr. Broderick's performance as principal that the board would like to see improved. Very anxious about asking the community what he could do different or what a new hire could do different. In an article that was published in the Reformer on 2/24, Mr. Breyer reported that it had been more than 20 years since the public had been asked what they wanted in a principal and what they wanted the principal to do to make the school better. That's one of the purposes of the community forum tonight and of the thought exchange that was sent out by Kate O'Connor on February 16th. Certainly it's not necessarily to only ask for input of this nature when looking for a new principal. Certainly that input can be taken from all parties that are concerned more often than just when a new hire is being considered. Over the last month or so, many people in the community have spoken up in favor of Mr. Broderick continuing in his role as the high school principal. A petition with over 1,020 signatures supports this. The board is asking the community what it wants to see in a principal, and over 1,020 signatures are supporting Mr. Broderick, and so that's a pretty good answer for a start. Additionally, many people, including former and current students, have already answered that question. What they want to see in the principal is Mr. Broderick. So instead of searching for a new one and contradicting what over 1,000 members of the community would like, I would urge the board to continue to collect the information from the community as mentioned above. What would you like to see in a principal? And I would urge the board to offer Mr. Broderick a contract, to engage him, not just invite him to come, but go to him and talk him out of it, like Chris was talked out of it. And to provide him with a contract that has clear and measurable goals and expectations that include the input from the community as well as input from the board. I further urge that Mr. Broderick be given guidelines for improved performance and a supportive mentor and framework which will provide him with an opportunity to move forward and meet those measurable expectations. As mentioned above, being that the superintendent has not worked to retain John in that position, I would suggest that Mr. BFUHS is not the right person to provide Mr. Broderick with the proper supportive atmosphere to guide that success. The community has spoken and is speaking tonight, and the message is a resounding vote for Mr. Broderick. So let's come together as a community and a board to build on the energy that John has, the love and the pride of Village Union the love and the pride for Bellas Falls Union High School that John has, and the strengths that he has to build an even stronger leadership at the high school that involves everything that we have for input and that embodies the measurable goals that come from the community input and that the board is seeking. Thank you.
Hey, Jen, we can't hear what you're saying, because
How
you gotta wait.
how much time do we have? Okay, so I just want, I had no idea that's great. We still have plenty of time to continue this. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? And is there interest in proceeding with our originally scheduled process? If there is none, count of points. Does anybody else want to speak?
Okay, so Amanda Damaris, I am an employee of the district. I also have a junior, who you've already previously seen, she looks like this. But, okay, so, there's the petition. I know it can't be like totally formal or whatever, because any reason, but it's got over 1,000 signatures, which is like 4 times the population of the student body here. I wanted to tell you, Jack, I am your Fact TV gal.
Yep.
And I was the one saying that I'm concerned about a replacement because I also have a student at the middle school in that train wreck who does not have a principal. But that concern is only if we really follow through with getting rid of Mr. Broadley, because I don't think we need to get rid of him at all. That's my only concern. Like, why are we sending someone out the door who wants to be here and is good for here with this lingering fact that we might not find a replacement? So, sorry, I rushed from work to here, I didn't have time to prepare. But in a previous meeting too, it was stated a bunch of facts about rankings and such like that, about how Mr. Broadley's performing and our rankings and stuff. But I also want to make sure that it is well known, Mr. Broadley is coming off of our COVID years, which is still in play. I myself have an older child who dropped out like less than 6 months away from graduating at another high school because he did not want to sit in front of the computer. You're also talking to a student body, and I'm so sorry if this brings up emotional hardship for anybody. A student body who's also lost peers tragically. They have had so much to conquer, and just having more turnover is just insane. I personally love that Mr. Broadley knows our kids. Mr. Broadley knows that Johnny is not acting like himself, and maybe Johnny's going through something that needs to be looked into, because he's known Johnny for a long time. That makes me feel safer as a mom, knowing that he knows these kids. On that petition, the 1,000+ signatures, all I saw was he bought cleats for my students so they could play soccer. He's the reason why I stayed. He's the reason why I graduated. He's done this. My mom doesn't even live in the state, and she knows Mr. Broadley because he has been at every musical performance, theatrical performance, and all the sports. It's amazing how much he's here. So, I'm thinking that's my thing there. Kaylee, did I hear anything? She's my brain.
If he leaves, he's taking teachers with him.
Yes, you're gonna lose a lot. Oh, that's my other thing. I've been here for almost 5 years, and I've watched this district become a shipwreck. I have been saying it is a Titanic. I have been here through business payroll issues. I've been here through being ripped as a para. I have been up here for a whole lot, and I've seen it just going downhill. And the only reason why I'm staying here is because I'm not going to leave this district and leave my children behind in it, where they have to attend. My question, though, is the school board's not asking Mr. Broadley to consider withdrawing it. Why wouldn't they do that? And is it possible that the school board was caught off guard and there could have been a miscommunication between the superintendent and the board, with the board being caught off guard on the 1/24 meeting where it finally came to light about this letter?
So there could be a miscommunication between the superintendent and the board that might be worth considering. But, yes, I am just a para, but, oh, and everything that I have heard, being your Fact TV girl there, I've had a lot of people come up to me saying, I can't believe you stood up and spoke, and that's very brave, especially being an employee and having to worry about retaliation, which I certainly hope would not be the case because I'm here as a mom, and that comes first. I can get a job anywhere else. I'm telling you right now, like I could get a job anywhere else. I'm here. I want to stay here. But the only negative thing that I have heard is from one person that is related to a board member. That is the only negative thing that I've heard from about Broadway. Everything else has been positive and astonishment that this is happening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I'm going to go back to this. Maybe I'm not going to go back to this screen here. Whoops, weird. No, it's fine. But I do want to say that when we talked about what the principal does, several of you have mentioned important items that the principal does. And I want to put those on the screen at some point this evening. But I think we ought to start to build, a structure of what we see as strengths. You articulated that very well. And, what are the other pieces that are out there? Some pieces are noticeable, or they're not necessarily mentioned. So if you'll stand up and just give your name, and we'll continue this.
Hi, oh, that's a lot.
As I said.
I'm an athletic trainer. I don't really do much of this, but.
So do you work in the school here?
Yeah, I'm the athletic trainer here.
Okay.
And luckily I'm here because of Mr. Broadley. I came from New Jersey. I've worked in New Jersey for a few years. I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I left New Jersey because of, I would say, political side of things. I went to Field Township, I went there, I worked there, and the sad part of working in a school in education, a lot of people see people as numbers. In New Jersey, the kids were too scared to go to the principals to talk to them because the principals were too scared. The principals weren't there with open doors to let, I would say, us workers go and sit down and have a friendly conversation and talk to them and just let us know what we're feeling. I felt like a number there. I felt like anything I wanted, anything I needed, I was too scared to go and ask for it. And that's at a school where I'd have 16 teams per season, and there was only one of me, and I have 8 games going on at once, and not once have I ever seen a principal actually come sit at a game. The one time was to drive one of the principals with me because baby wasn't around, so he would just come, and they actually complained about coming 2 games to watch. Broadly is actually the first, and I would have to say, coming here, I came and sat and had lunch with them just to meet everybody, because I was from Jersey, so driving up here for an interview was hard, but coming here, sitting down, having lunch with them made me the most comfortable. Broadly has been the most open. I can go to him and talk to him about everything and anything, especially with a new job, new spot here, new posting here. I never felt so comfortable. Usually I turn red, which I probably am. Usually I get nervous, but for him, I could go walk into his room, take a seat, and just talk and ask for anything. And in other jobs at other high schools, you can't do that. But here, he's just so open, so friendly, you can go and you can talk to him. I've never seen so many people who want someone so bad as Broadly to be here. In New Jersey, you would never see anybody trying to fight for a principal. You would never see that. But here, and I know in past that he wasn't asked, he was forced to resign. He was put in a position where something must go on, bad heads, this and that. I've had friends who've dealt with this to the point where you're either asked to resign resign or you get fired. So I think he was put in the position of, you guys said, hey, we're not gonna sign your contract, offer you for next year, so come give me in a weekend. After the weekend, think it through. If you don't hand me a notice of resigning, you're gonna be on the fired list. That's what I know in the past with friends in New Jersey, because they do it all the time, but I feel like that's where we're at. I mean, again, I've never seen so many people in the community who wants him here, and I think he should stay.
Thank you. Apparently you want to, oh, you're coming down here. That's fine, but I didn't know you were speaking. Go ahead.
So I'm Starlyn. I'm actually from the Train Wreck Middle School. And I have to say that losing our principal made our school the train wreck that it is today. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that Mr. Broadley has done a lot for this high school. I will be here next year, and I think that Mr. Broadley, I'm asking you guys to bear with me because I'm all over the place, but I think that he's a really good part in this high school. I think he's helped a lot of people, especially my friend Faith Lee. She goes through a lot, and he's always been there. We're very grateful for Mr. Bailey, though. He's very helpful. But I think that Mr. Broadley helps us all in a way, and it makes us all feel comfortable. So I think that there's a lot of people here that would be losing a lot if he left. And I'm asking that you just please consider the people that actually have to go here every day and that have to deal with the consequences of your decision and your actions. Losing him would hurt a lot of kids here, and I think that it would make a really big difference in attendance and grades. I think that we should keep Mr. Broadley, and that a lot of people would be losing a lot if he left. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jessica Illinois. I work at the middle school near the train wreck. I don't consider it that. We are going through a rough patch. I wanted to just state something that I was hoping that the superintendent or one of the school board members might have said. I've been here for about half an hour, and I've already heard a couple of parent educators mention they're just parent educators. You are not just parent educators. You are a part of the staff and an honorary part of the staff. I hope any of us who come up and stand up and say that, realize that you are not just a parent educator. You're here.
Absolutely. At the risk of trying to turn this back to the meeting I thought it was going to be, I want to just do a thought exercise with you all, because you've articulated some of the stuff that I wanted to do over there. What is the principle? I've heard several things. I've heard a principal is a school ambassador. That is correct. All right, so let's get down here. Not up. There. That's it. So one thing we want from a principal is a school ambassador. Correct? Is that what I was hearing from you all? Yeah. All right. Sure. We know that. So that's a nice one. We know that it's important to people that he be approachable. We know from what we've heard, good rapport with students and teachers is clearly important to you. Because I think that was very loud, right? Okay, team building. We'll use that. Pardon? Why don't you come over here, because you know how to do this, Puppy, and I don't. Okay. My handwriting won't get any better using this pen, just in case anyone's wondering. You can see I planned it over there. It's almost illegible. The school ambassador, approachable, team builder, popular with teachers and with students. Would that be analysis as well as that important in a principal from your perspective? All right, let's put community member. Actually, it's a community presence. You don't want to be saying that only people who have lived in the community are eligible. Would that be fair? Okay. So we have these 4 items. I told you I was going to loop you back into my process. What else? Well, we got school ambassador, team builder, community presence. So let's put in a leader. What kind of leader? What are we talking about? What kind of leader?
That's a school ambassador.
Well, this thing, is this redundant or is it something else?
Stand up for what's right.
Principal. Okay.
Transparent.
All right.
I don't know how you describe this, but helps the underdog.
That's a good one. I like that. Because I think outreach to especially folks who feel marginalized is a big deal in a lot of schools. Trying to figure out how to say that. I don't have enough room here. So I use the term open to difference. That summarize it? Thank you. Let's talk about some other things, just because I know this is what's on people's mind, because these are things you all see in your current principal, and I agree. How about facilities?
Believes that that the school should be run, the kid is always in the center.
Child center.
That is what we're all here for. The kid should be in the center, and that's how you make it.
And with high school kids, I hate using the term child, but we use it here anyway. I think most 16-year-olds ought to be able to vote. But we'll say child-centered.
And that bothers me to say student-centered.
No, student-centered. Let's give your facilitator a break with the camera. Stupid board. All right, so this is helpful. Now I'm going to ask you to broaden this a little bit. Does anybody care if your principal is a good finance person? What it actually kind of is, the principal helps prepare the budget. I sat in on a lot of budget meetings, and the principal owns budget. No, the superintendent doesn't own your budget, the principal owns your budget, because the principal is his school or her school, and they have to be responsible for the outcome, and they have to state what they need. So is finance, being able to put together a budget important. Is fiscal stewardship at any level important?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll be asked for ranking on some of this later. So let's put that down. Hold on. There we go. How about safety? So is this building safe right now? I walked into this building tonight and nobody asked me who I was, where I was going, and what I was doing here. The point is that this was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
The school was closed.
The building, how did I get in? I'm just saying.
The door open because there's a meeting tonight.
The point is, if somebody's coming here that is that an issue? I'm just saying, is safety a concern? Should we be doing more for safety? No, that's what I'm hearing. Okay, that's fine, this is your meeting, you get to tell us what priorities are. Is the facility and the state of the facility important to you?
I'm gonna say something very hard to say for me. I look around at other states and I see school shootings everywhere. I have never felt more safe than I have in this building.
Thank you.
Teachers have safety. They all do. Everyone in our school, we are all scared of school shooters, but you want to know what happens? We are safe in here because our doors are locked during the school hours. And that's what matters. It doesn't matter if you're able to get in here on a school meeting night.
Probably matters that you're at the school meeting, but I hear you, thank you. No, that's important to hear. How about the facility? The principal owns the state of the facility. They get to decide what needs to be replaced. They at least get to advocate what needs to be replaced, whether or not the lighting is good, whether or not, as you know, there's many millions of dollars that are potentially available to this district to change the facility. Is that a responsibility that should be a principal's? Should they have skills in that set? Is that for somebody else to do? That is a principal. Then facility.
Yeah.
What?
With the board.
With the board, yeah, but all this is moving. I agree, but I'm just saying that the person who says to the board, I need this, is principal.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm feeling a little frustrated over here.
Well, let's try to solve that.
Can you just review the purpose of doing this again? Because I'm feeling a little, honestly, it's insulting to assume that parents and community members wouldn't already know what makes a good principal.
The point is that one of the things I'm going to ask right now is what's most important? What is your priority?
No, not even children.
All right, child-centric, number one. What's number two?
Keeping John Broadway.
Excuse
What
me.
isn't he doing?
But you're saying children, like we're children. Most of us who are in this school today range from the ages of 14 through 18. Tonight's a school night, and instead of doing my schoolwork, I'm coming to fight for my principal.
Yeah.
Yep. So to my teachers, I promise I will get it turned in, don't worry.
Listen, you know, as I said, you know, you're part of the community, and you're the reason for this institution existing. I don't think there's any, I hope there's no debate about that. And that's why I wanted you up here with your signs, so that you can make that statement, because, you know, board has other means to deliberate. Teachers, sorry guys, you're going to be involved in the input on what happens here, and in another place separate from this, at least you should be.
I've got a kid that's been here since 7:30 and has not left yet.
I know. That's fantastic. I'm just saying that I want to make certain that the community at large and the kids, and maybe especially the kids, get their say in it. And that's important. You know, I really did want you to sit here, but that's fine. I think this has been helpful. With your permission, I just want to go through this exercise because I want you to see the whole picture. We seem to have the time, and it's respectful both to the board and to your current principal and to anybody else that would ever take this job, that they know what's important to you. So that's why we're doing this. All right? So we've got child-centric, and I think I heard, was it ambassador? What's number two? Yes.
I just have a question. This would be an appropriate conversation to have a principal hiring committee.
You are part of the principal's hiring committee.
Well, that's
what you're here. That's what I wanted. Well, I'm just saying that is.
I'm just wondering, how many other people are not here for this?
So you know, if you don't want to be part of it,
It's not what originally a community forum to discuss this, to discuss broadly, to discuss how the community felt. And I feel like the power of the school board and you as the chair of the SU board have just taken it upon yourself to change it and to distract us. And like Kim just said, if we wanted to be part of that search for the principal, then we would have signed up for that what Kate said that. To be a part of that.
Well, I was going to say, but I think you need to look at what you've already written here.
That's him.
Well, we didn't write that.
No, you didn't write it.
Well, some did, but most of us are here for community forum.
Well, my point simply is, this is a documentation of what you've been talking about. This is a documentation of what you see as a strength of your current leadership and what you want anybody that would ever hold a position.
This is great if we needed it, but we
Well,
don't.
but please understand, don't assume I'm trying to derail this. I'm actually trying to do the opposite. Yes.
One comment. So I think what everybody, I'm assuming, thinks is the most important thing in a principal is the student. And everything else is secondary.
Yes, that was exactly why it would be number 2.
So that's all we need to know, I think. And he knows all the kids. Everything there is Mr. Broadley. I think that the board and the superintendent may be forgetting about the students when they're doing this.
Well, thank you. I'm going to, you've not spoken, so somewhere else back here in the repeat.
I have spoken just a little bit.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Reminder, I'm Haley Damaris. I am a student. I deal with your decision. I'm going to deal with it every single day of my senior year. And yeah,
good.
I actually have. And I understand that this is what we're looking for. Anybody can put on a face in an interview and pretend that they see that. But you don't, what you guys are not seeing, you on board, you are not seeing that instead of looking for somebody to have these qualities, which they can easily fake, and then come to our school and turn into a training rack like the middle school, I'm sorry, Ellen's story. But you're trying to start from scratch by hiring somebody else, instead of somebody that the community trusts. Over half of the Bellows Falls population has signed that petition. That should hold more power than it seems to have. And instead of starting from scratch, we should build on what we have. I've been here while Mr. Hudson was our principal. And I think that we benefit greatly from somebody who has learned this community and has been a part of this community for so long. Because if you bring somebody from California, if you bring somebody from somewhere else that has not dealt with this community, we're going to lose all of that. If Mr. Broadley leaves, he's not only taking teachers with him, he's taking students with him. Our community, as a student body, I see it firsthand every single day. I've seen the way my student body can be, and correct me if I'm wrong, most of these students wouldn't come to this if it wasn't important. And it is extremely important. And any issue that I have heard of Mr. Broadley having is personal, not professional.
Well, you've done 2 things here, I hope. I hope people have had to say and spoken their view, and I hope that nobody feels repressed, or guided, or manipulated in any way. That's not the intent here. And you feel that this is your list, not the board's list, not my list, it's your list. And what we're trying to do here is we laid out very emphatically, child-centric principle is job 1. The reason why I'm trying to get, but you know, everybody's going to say that, but they need to really mean it, obviously.
The reason for this is because these are, in fact, this list is the list that any principal needs to focus on, no matter who it is. But different communities have different emphasis. And the way that you line this up is you simply say, what's most important to you? Again, facilitating. This is what you do to help people figure out what it is you're looking for, whether it's a current person or a new person. It's the same process. And so that's why I asked you to say, we know that's number one. What's number two? Because I would say, if I were, I've known John as long as most of you, I would say this is, the outside of number one is probably number two. I don't know if I know anybody that's ever been a better school ambassador. But is that your number two? Or is there another number two? Team builder, leader, holding people accountable. What's most important to you beyond child-centered?
It's all about the kids.
Mr. Broadley, he is literally the only reason why our school is as amazing as it is. I can't see myself staying in the school if he leaves, which is kind of sad. You're asking for the number one reason? He's the number one reason why we're here tonight. He's
hard to miss that. And I certainly, and I knew that coming in because, as I said, this is personal for me too. But I'm trying to do a job and help you do your part in this process. Whether it's a process where Mr. Broadley reapplies, whether it's a process of, boy, he fits this priority so well, we can't go anywhere else. Whatever that is, having your input in this and having your priorities articulated is how we get this worked out. If you put your hand up, my best suggestion is to stand over here and tell us what you want to say from the back seat.
I only have one more thing to say. I promise I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but if you have not realized this by now, that list is all based off of Mr. Broadley. There is no other reason those names are on that list. It's because he has shown them.
Thank you. Is there anyone here who has not spoken who would like to? Because this is everybody. And again, for those that are sitting way out the back, a community meeting can't happen when I can barely see you. So if you want to stroll down here and participate, please do. I'd really like it. It's hard to have. We need to teach everybody that they're not bystanders. They're not the audience. They own the school. They own the process. And they need to take the rightful seat if they're willing to do that. So if you're willing to come up front, I really would like you to do so. No takers?
Some people might be scared away by the word investigation.
As I said, I think we've been very clear. I told you, first I've ever heard of it, and I've heard of it.
It was mentioned by a board member.
Well, again, first I've ever heard of it, and believe me, if it had been that thing, I'd have heard about it. So that's all I can tell you. All right? So let's make certain we're focused on what really is, whether as opposed to what somebody thinks they heard from somebody else.
Oh, sorry, directly from a board member.
Yeah,
I
think you're speaking to Jason Terry's comment a few board meetings ago about an investigation, so maybe it would be helpful to the community if you withdrew that comment. I believe it's part of actually the meeting minutes, and it has led a lot of the community members to think that there's some legal action happening and that he's had some major misconduct, which I believe that was the case. He would still be here in our school. But a lot of the community they just hear the word investigation and they get nervous. So maybe, I think it might have just been misspeaking, out of turn, but, so maybe at some meeting, maybe he'd like to address that.
Maybe in director's comments at the end of this?
Andy would like to speak, if that's possible.
Yeah, Andy, go ahead.
So I, for the record, there never was, there is no investigation involving Mr. Broadley.
Thank you for that. I think the public appreciates hearing that.
And just while I have the mic, I think it's also important that I know I have never stated anything about removing athletics. There was a post online that's a direct lie, that I never have said anything about getting rid of athletics. I've never spoken about it. I do not want to get rid of athletics. I have 2 boys who are athletes. I know the quality of extracurricular activities, and so I guess I would like that redacted also.
Well, absolutely, he's speaking to something that I posted on Facebook, and it wasn't that quoted that, it was an indication that there would be changes to the sports program. There was never an indication that it would be, I'll double check my post. I mean,
But I will tell you,
posted
there has
it.
never been a mention of sports, changing sports programs.
Okay, all right, so I guess.
That was also mentioned. No, we're not getting rid of sports.
Right.
Someone
Yeah.
stood up for you.
Yep. So my question is, I know we're going through and talking about like what, this is great, that we're feeling this sense of empowerment, this is all about us. And this is our list, our meeting that we're being directed through, which I appreciate, no, I appreciate it. It needs it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I would like to know is what the school board's vision and direction of the school is, because it seems that there was some kind of end game already in place, that was already in mind. But I was just curious about what that end game was, from the school board, so that led me to believe this is all a waste of time, because there's already a vision about the direction of the school was going in without the conversation, without this meeting. So I would just be curious to hear from the school board, maybe the superintendent, on the vision and the direction of what they think the school is, what the end game is, because I was told that my end game is different from what the board's end game is.
Let me give you a piece of information.
Jack, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
So, that was in an email from a board member, I saw that.
Okay.
That was one individual board member speaking. We have not had a meeting as a board to even talk about what we're talking about here. There's been so many other meetings going on that we keep bumping that meeting because we keep saying we want to have a meeting together as a board to discuss, you know, where are we going, you know, where's Mr. Broadley? We haven't had that meeting yet. That is a very important meeting, but we just haven't had the time. We have to have Mr. Haas with us. It's important to have our superintendent with us in these conversations, and he has to go to, you know, these 5 other boards, and it just takes time. The real thing is that board members as individuals say things, but as a board together is what's important as we stick together as a team. And so I have seen some things, and I'm not telling you I agree with them, but they're also individuals too. So there isn't much we can police about that, but we are not going to be able to have another board meeting until March 20th. And that meeting has to be a reorganization meeting because we have to go through the town meeting and the meeting of board members, and they have to reorganize. We won't be able to have another meeting until after the 20th of March to be able to even start talking about anything.
I want you to all know that this is not the only facilitation exercise that's happening around here. I sent the chair a list of, again, sort of out of my cookbook of what you do when you facilitate these things, and it talks about leadership style. And it says, you know, are you looking for that field general that makes decisions and, you know, clears the air and cleans deck? Or are you looking for an accountant who really is your fiscal steward? You've had a person that did that. Are you looking for a cheerleader for the community and for the school? Are you looking for a teacher of teachers, so-called philosophy model? Those who knew Joanna Hartster knows what that model looks like. That was her key. There's the model of social worker. that really says this is a community issue. In order to make the school better, I got to reach out to the community and spend a lot of time there. These are, and the architect to slowly put the blocks in place takes forever, but it has long-lasting consequences. So that was my challenge to these guys, to do the same thing, and I did it on the assumption that they didn't have an agenda, that they didn't have somebody picked, that they didn't have a model, and that they needed to talk about it, just the way I'm asking you to do that tonight. So I hope that's useful, all right? This is really the process that it looks like. This is not a con job. I wouldn't be here wasting my evening if I thought it was for even a second.
I appreciate that. I have one more comment when I got the mic. I encourage anybody that is a voter for the town of Rockingham to stay for the annual meeting. It's my understanding somebody from the community can make a motion to have it voted tonight on offering a contract to Mr. Broadley, and that it can be voted on not just by the school board members, by all the members. So if you can please stick around. I know it's a long night, it's been a long day, but if you can stick around, I think tonight we can make a difference.
You know, Mr. Member of the school board, you really should be sitting here, because you can't be both, just like a teacher can't be a community member and a teacher. It's really not, I really wouldn't mind if that were with your colleagues, if you are part of that board, but, you know, it's up to you.
Well, Jack Breyer is correct. I am a member of the school board. My name is David Clark. I represent Westminster for quite a number of years. And Samantha finally caught my attention here with that end game word. That is my language. And I heard clearly what Jack just said, and I will respond to that as well. We'll move back to the end game for just a moment, because Samantha and I have had some ex parte communication. I don't know if anybody else from the Union High School Board has been in touch with the community, but I have. And I think that's worthy of an explanation. I explained to Samantha that I thought we had different end games. And I will explain that comment. And the comment runs like this. For most of the people in the room here tonight, the end game is to retain John Broadley's services as principal. And that's certainly a desire that I respect. And I will differentiate my end game from your end game. And my end game is this. It's my belief that a member of this school board, that I have an obligation to help ensure that we have continuity of leadership come this fall when school reopens for the next school year, irregardless of who that leader is. Obviously, I'm open to persuasion, or I wouldn't be here tonight, and I will speak to Mr. Breyer's concerns about where I park my family, and it runs like this. Yes, this is a school board meeting tonight, and I think that's a very unfortunate characterization. The language I suggested, apparently too late, was that this be warned, that's the key word, warned, as a community meeting with school board members in attendance. I've been sitting up there because, quite bluntly, I wanted to hear what people had to say. Certainly, I've had plenty of time at this table to say what I want to say. But I feel very strongly that it was a big mistake to create a fundamental separation in this room by having the leadership down here at the podium and the community up here so that we're facing off against each other. I don't think that's a particularly healthy exercise. So I exercised my prerogative as a board member who can make up his mind on his own to sit up in the audience and simply hear what was going on. And I would not open my mouth at all tonight, at this point anyway, except for the fact that Samantha brought up an interesting point about endgame, and I thought that I needed to own it. So that's why I'm standing at this mic, and when I'm done, I'm just going to go sit at that table. But I think I will sit up in the back where I spread myself out pretty good so I don't leave anything behind tonight. Thank you for hearing me out.
I will say for the record that when we tried to put this thing together last Monday, my email to everybody was that everybody was going to sit together. But once it became a board meeting, it had to be a board meeting. And that's why the structure is what it is. Sorry about that, but it's just the way things are going on. Yes, I don't.
Hi, I'm Joanne Clough. My daughter is a sophomore here, and I just had a few observations that I wanted to make. One was last night up in Grafton, I listened to Mr. Haas talk about the importance of the mental health of the students throughout the district. And one of my thoughts listening to all of this is, I don't think the resignation of Mr. Broadley is going to help the mental health of our students at the high school. I think that he very much is in tune with what they are going through and have gone through. I don't necessarily believe that others do. And then furthermore, my other thought was that in regards to this list, I would say probably secondarily, you would want to put team builder, because apparently Mr. Broadley has built a great team. Teachers, students, and community. So, I mean, it's very impressive to me how many people are here, how many people have come out and supported, how many people have signed petitions. So my thought process is that team builder would be number 2. And I think that's pretty apparent right now here. So those are the only things I had to say. I thank you for your time.
No problem. I'm just trying to make sure that, out of respect to the people that haven't spoken, that they feel that they can speak, and then we can do rounds 2 and 3 and 4.
This is actually on behalf of someone else.
Well, I'm going to let this gentleman who hasn't spoken yet speak first, if you don't mind.
Hi, my name is Joseph Jakes. I'm a senior here, and this is one of my 3rd school district I've been in my entire life. I've been in Brattleboro before. I went across the river in New Hampshire for 1 year in high school, and having been here for 2 years and having met other students, from what I've seen, there has not been ever before a principal that I've met or known that has cared about and has been cared about by as much as Mr. Broadley has. And I think that no matter what, as much as these things are all really important, we already have a principal that has all of those aspects of them, and we don't need to search for another one. And the fact that I've never had that interaction with him, every time I've seen him, he's always been smiling. I've never had anyone tell me that they're upset with him or mad at him for anything. And I think that just the way he acts, the way when you see him in the hallway, he says hi. Sometimes I have a bad day. I'm going to cover when I have a bad day, and he'll, even if I'm covering it really good, he never says, hey Joe, what's going on? How are you doing? He always checks in with people, and I think that it's really important for us to recognize that we have a principal already that has all these aspects, and we don't need to search for anything. There's no reason to, and I think that if the board does not see that he has all these aspects, then they need to open their eyes a little bit more.
Thank you. If you've spoken only once, then you can speak. If you've spoken twice or more, then I ask you to wait for the people that want to speak twice or more. I don't know how else to do it. I do need to check our time.
It's done.
15 minutes, Jack.
15 minutes, and it's doubled in 2 places at once.
Okay, David Clark. I thought I was all done speaking. And then I got back to my seat and I realized I wasn't all done speaking. And it's about that end game again. And this is what I want to point out to the room tonight. And that is, I chaired this board, I chaired the supervisory union board a year and a half when Chris Pratt and Lynn Carey walked out on us with less than a week to go before school opened. And I gotta tell you something, Andy Haas saved our bacon big time by walking in here and assuming a very difficult role as superintendent of schools. And certainly he hasn't, shall we say, made everybody happy. And there's plenty of room for improvement with Andy as well. However, he stepped up to the plate at an absolute critical juncture for our communities of Athens, Grafton, and Westminster, Rockingham, and irregardless of how much you might hate him tonight, I hope you realize that Andy has stood up for this community as well, and I just think that people ought to recognize that, whether they care to acknowledge it enthusiastically tonight or not. So I certainly thank Andy for the leadership which he has displayed here. Thanks, Andy.
Yes. You know, we'll do that. Since we're winding up anyway. What's happening? Usually at the end of the meeting, our director's comments. At the risk of putting people on the spot, I'm going to say this must be the director's comments time, Madam Chair. Would people like to do that, or do you have other things to do between now and then?
So we have, it looks like 2 people at least that still would like to speak, and I don't want to speak in front of them. And then when you're ready to wrap it up, we do need to run by 6:45.
All right, you've got a plan. So we've got 2 people. Do I hear 3? No? 2 going once, twice, and there's 2 people. So step up to the mic again if you like.
So, I'm actually speaking on behalf of, not my actual daughter, but my second daughter, Nydia Simons. She asked me, because she's not willing to stand up here, but sent me a message. She says, the school board is meant to help the community and our school. As a student at this high school and a teenager, she's a junior by the way, I was taught to listen to your peers and take into consideration for what they have to say. So her question is, so why not listen to us when we say we want Broadly? So that's coming from one of your juniors. There is another inquiry as to, have we been paying attention to the Zoom link to make sure that anyone there might have it? Just curious.
I've been monitoring tonight, yes. You're quite right. You haven't not spoken tonight. I'm going to let you speak, and then if someone down the end can tell me if anybody is asking to speak.
We've been watching it, there's nobody.
Okay, they're all here in person. Good for them. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Kelly Spalding. I'm not a good public speaker. I know Julie and I have 2 chairs and I write down that. Just so. I have been here 27 years. I'm a Chinese. Maybe. And I've gone through probably, been under at least probably 8, 9 superintendents. Okay, so that was common. Been lucky enough to be under a couple of principals, a lot of continuity going on, trying the late 90s going on.
Can you make them put the mic down so that we can hear you?
Is further?
You gotta speak right up.
Oh, sorry. So, been through 8 or 9 superintendents, okay, been through the late 90s, getting 2000, Chris started as superintendent way back in that, principal, assistant principal. Yeah, kind of both. So we've had some continuity. 2 board meetings below that, I stood in my room and I started cleaning stuff out, started purging stuff, opening stuff up, looking at all the stuff that we've done with kids. You know, a lot of it's in the trash. But looking at stuff over the years, all the different issues and all the different stuff that we've done as a faculty. Sometimes as a high school, we need to plug through and do what's best for our kids, regardless of what's going on at the top. Because there's been some years that have been very not good, honestly. I also have stood in front of school boards, gone through lots of school boards. I've been screamed at least once, very directly. I've gotten letters from people who saw that in action and apologized. I've also been reading some of the newspapers, right? No, no. I've also gone along with, have been reading newspapers, where lots of board members put things in the paper that are just verbal, all right? I just, on my outgoing, think that people need to learn to get along. I watch a lot of board meetings, I watch a lot of people that really can't get along, and I think if I can leave with anything for you people in general, as a community, get along. Do some restorative service. Do some stuff where you people can work together and not against each other for these kids and for the best this can be. And I just think you really need to do that.
Thank you very much. Now, as we said before, just being attentive to the time, I said that after people had spoken that we wanted to see if the board wishes to do their public comments, and this would be fine by me.
Yes, please. We need to, we have a meeting at Saturday at 7. We just got to get our heads on here. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and I hope everyone got their chance to speak, get their concerns out if they wanted to. I'm going to start with Brenda for director's comments.
All right, so we've heard a lot.
You got to turn your mic on. Thank you.
Okay, so we've heard a lot. I'm just going to say, I think this is a fair assessment. The question is, taxpayers want to be a part of the process. The board answer typically seems to have been maybe you just make a public comment or you join the board and be a part of the discussion and process. The solution is you pay administration, you vote in board members as representatives, and they handle it. But here's the outcome we have right now is, I believe that you're saying we feel locked out of decision-making and we feel locked out of input in the process. We're frustrated. So we've resorted to what we see over and over again, and we hear your comments over and over again. So how can we move forward? So my comment would be, we need to build a bridge. I didn't hear too much bridge building, other than maybe we could offer Principal Broadley a contract and then move to work together to build goals and work together. That's the only bridge I heard. It seems like, the other thing I was going to say is taxpayers, when I listen to you, you sound like you say, we hear a lot about restorative practices, so why can't we offer Principal Broadley that option is maybe what you're saying. But I think we also, we hear like it's about the kids, but what are we teaching the kids? How are we doing conflict resolution? What are we showing them? What are we modeling as the adults? We need to be careful that we're not all just stomping our foot and saying, I want my way. Demanding something and saying that's the only way, is if I get my demand. And we need to be, I think as a business model, we need to be careful to manage and not manipulate each other. Because the board has listened, but I think both parties sometimes feel like they're being manipulated by each other. So what about the diversity that we talked about? We throw these three words around, and we've redefined everything, even our culture, by diversity, equity, and inclusion. So true diversity would be respecting the differences in opinions, which we did tonight. Would be respecting the process, I don't know if we're doing it. Would be respecting the office of all the different people involved, which would be the superintendent, the staff, the teachers, everybody that's involved. So it's obviously not working. Our diversity is not working because we're very divided at this point. And I feel like the word inclusion is not operating right now because nobody's sensing that they're included because we're all alienating each other. So what's the equitable solution to it? We throw that word around, and the only solution I heard you say is give us Broadway. So I think we still need relationship and conversation. We need to listen. I feel like it's been listened. We spent a long time listening tonight, but we also need to build some bridges. And we need to move forward. We can't just keep doing this thing. And so in saying that, maybe, I almost feel like you don't need a board because you want to do it. You want to saying we need to work together. Because there's a reason why there's a board, there's a reason why there's an administration, there's reasons for it. And so I feel like we need to look forward and we need to build some bridges. I think that's what you're trying to do. Because when you have a conflict, you're trying to make pros and cons and try to move something. And I think maybe you might have been misunderstood in that, because you were saying it's more than just social, it's more than just your relationship. There's other things that are involved in the principal's job. So maybe if you want to keep this principal and he's very strong in that one side, but maybe he's not as strong in some of the things that are considered to be weaknesses, maybe, then maybe you need to reconstruct the whole thing and get somebody to advise him to do their job, make sure they keep it. So I'm just saying, we need bridges.
Jason, you're next.
Thanks,
4 minutes.
So Andy, I appreciate you speaking for me, but I don't need anybody to speak for me with Simon's comment. Well, actually, first, Julie, I'd like to say I'm sorry for your loss. So I'm not on Facebook, but I get a lot of screenshots these days. So as far as what I stated about Mr. Broadley, I believe what I stated was on my director's comments, I did not feel comfortable having any director's comments when it was an open investigation. I never said specifically an open investigation on Mr. Broadley, which I clarified the next day when the Brattleboro reformer called me. So, Andy, appreciate it, but I'm a big wife to speak for myself. You know, and I've listened a lot tonight, and I really appreciated everyone's comments. It's tough being up here. I really appreciated what Ms. Moore said when, you know, I really believe that there is no way that anybody cannot reapply for a job. That would be foolish, and I believe that's against the law. And also, you know, when Molly spoke about Mr. Broadley and has asked him to come, that's the first time I've heard that. And I have not heard from Mr. Broadley. I don't know what happened. We were read a letter, we voted on it, and that's what happened. Really that simple. I don't know anything else, and if there is something, and if that was me, you bet your ass I would have said, hey, I still want to work here. So I haven't seen the guy. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Molly, am I seeing a hand up on the screen over there? Is that my?
There is a hand up.
Is it a school board member? I don't know who it is.
I don't know who it is.
So let me get through Gregor's comments, and then we got a hand up, we'll let him speak. We've got to make it quick, so we got to move on. June, you're next.
I'm all set.
June's all set. Priscilla.
Priscilla, I don't think your mic.
Is that one? Yes. Okay, I worked many years kitty corner in the room doing special ed with Mr. Brown and found he was outside position. I also. Is that one? Okay,
What are you gonna say? I'm gonna say exactly what I said.
On the school board, and I've had no complaints personally as far as seeing what he was doing here, and I appreciate all of your comments and support of him, and feeling that I now know more about who he is. Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Clark, you're making a statement. Would you like to say anything else? Okay. I think I've said enough too. Thank you very much, everyone. We've got one more person, and let's open. Okay, we're calling Marvin, put the hand up there. Andy's on.
Andy, can you bring that into the room? I'm trying to. All right. Technology. Thanks. Molly's trying to recognize TSP iPhone with their hand raised.
TSP iPhone, your hand raised on the Zoom meeting, could you please speak? I think it's coming, just wait.
Just make sure that they know that it might be muted.
You're muted, I think, on TSP iPhone.
Mute.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, did it work?
Yes, please.
It's a little spotty. I'm just trying to see if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
I can hear you, but I need you to announce your name first, please.
My name is Tim.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
My name is Tim.
Tim.
Yes.
Go ahead, we got about 30 seconds, and then we gotta close the meeting, we got another meeting starting.
Okay, I just had a couple of questions. One of the statements I'd like to make is you can apparently see that everybody in the community is behind John, and we're trying to stay behind him because of the job that he's doing at the high school. And one of the things I was concerned about is we're going through this list of things that we're looking for in a principal, and he seems to fulfill everything that we're looking for, and everybody seems to want him still at that high school. One of the things I'm concerned about is, you know, as Andy had apparently saved our bacon, which we shouldn't have been in that position in the first place, but why didn't we go through this same scenario when we're looking for a superintendent? You know, the community could get together and find out what we were looking for to support our high school and all the teachers and principals that are working for it. So I'm hoping that you guys will listen to all the people that are behind our principal right here and take that into account, because the board is actually supposed to work for us, because we depend on you guys to make the right decisions of what we're looking for our kids.
Okay, thank you very much, Jack, we'll make note of that. There's one more hand up, I'm gonna give you a chance, but we do need to wrap it up. I'm sorry, I don't know what it says.
Diamond Oaks.
Diamond Oaks.
Hi, can you hear me?
Now we can.
I'd just like to say that John Broadley has been the best principal and overall just the best community member I have ever seen. And I would have dropped out if it wasn't for him and his communicational skills with children. And I think you should really take into account the mental health of the kids that are going to that school now and the kids that are going to be entering the school next year. And I think it would just be a shame to get rid of him. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much.
Just think about the kids. Bye.
Thank you. I would like to adjourn this meeting, please. Thank you.